Okay, so do you want to hear how big of an idiot I am?
Yes, please.
Yesterday, all right, so there's this guy that I follow on Instagram. I think his handle's like your barefoot neighbor or something like that. And he's a chef, but he's like, all of his recipe books are like recipes that people will actually make. Like you can use canned ingredients. It's not that big of a deal. Anyway, I follow him because I'm like, that's the kind of stuff I'll make. You know, I'm not making noodles from scratch. Get out of here, you know? So anyway, I follow him and I have a ton of his stuff saved that I go back to all the time to cook. Anyway, that's not even what this is about. He popped up, like one of his videos popped up, and he has a ton of stuff. So he does the cooking stuff, but then he's also like this big, there's like an orphanage that he's a real big supporter of. And he tries to, like he just bought, I want to say 16 beds or something like that, like fundraised money to get 16 beds for these kids. Mm-hmm. So he does, and then he like helped out all these people, the needy, during the hurricane that just happened. And like, he's got a lot of like, he just makes me feel good because he's such a good guy, you know? Well, yesterday he shared a video about, in his cooking videos, he'll always pay the cheese tax or the tax when cooking, which means you have to give your dog a little piece of whatever it is. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So Layla is the dog that he would, and every time he would show her, and you could just tell she was super old.
Yeah.
So yesterday he's sharing this video about how he had to put her down over the weekend.
Aww.
And when I say he's sharing this video and like talking about it, this guy went into major detail from start to finish, like every minute of the process, like going to the vet, how long they had to wait, going back, what they do first, and then at the end, when everything's all said and done, what to expect, what not to expect. Like when you're on your way home, that's when you turn on all the songs that are going to make you cry, because that's when you can let it all out, and like all this stuff. So he's telling me this, and the whole time I'm watching this video, it's probably a 5-minute video.
Yeah.
I am bawling my eyes out. And I'm like, oh. Like as soon as the video was over, I was kind of like laughing at myself, like, why am I crying so hard?
Yeah.
And the whole time I'm like thinking about Rudy, like subconsciously, just like, I'm not going to want to do that with him, you know, like, what am I going to do when it's that time? And then, but I was crying so hard. Yeah. Like, I couldn't stop crying.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And then it hit me. I realized the reason why it was making me so sad is because Rudy's like the last part of my dad.
Aww, yeah.
Which Rudy's not even close to dying. Okay. Mm-hmm. He's old, but he's not like, he's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I'm just like psyching myself out already. Yeah. For something that has not even happened, or is like in no way, shape, or form is going to happen anytime soon. But that's it just hit me like, oh my God, that's what this is about. Like, that's why I'm going to be so sad.
Yeah.
That's why this is going to be so tough, you know? But anyway, so I'm like standing in the kitchen eating Cheetos and crying, watching this stupid video. And Gavin comes home from the gym and he walks into the kitchen, and I'm like trying to clean up all the tears, and I'm like kind of laughing and crying at the same time. Yeah. And he's like, Mom, what is wrong? And I was like, you're going to think I'm so stupid. And he was like, what? And so I told him, and he was like, Mom, and like he kind of came over to like give me a hug, and he was like smiling, but like I was still kind of crying, and he's like, what is going on? Like he did not know how to take it. And so later that evening, Blue, I told him about it, and then we were all standing in the kitchen. We had gone to get some ice cream, and Gavin came in to get his ice cream, and we were standing there talking, and I was like, hey, I told Blue about me crying earlier about Rudy, and he was like, he just busted out laughing. He was like, Mom, I didn't know what to do. He was like, I'm glad you think it's funny now, because I thought it was pretty funny.
You're crying about the dog you haven't lost.
Yeah. And crying about the dog that he's talking about that I'm like just saw in some videos a couple of times.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you something that I cry at. I don't cry, actually. Like, I do not, if actually my dog did just pass away, and I am not going to talk about it.
Which dog?
Jet.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Jet passed away. I've had him for 10 years.
Oh my God.
Anyway, not going to talk about
Okay.
it. Anyway.
Yeah, this is going to be a real bummer
Yeah,
episode.
I know. Freak.
Sorry.
But on a lighter note, do you know what makes me cry every single time?
What? The Bachelor.
No. Whenever people perform on America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
And at the end, when everybody claps.
Yeah.
I freaking cannot not cry. Like there was a freaking, what was it? Like a robotic, weird dancer. And I was just, yes. Willem looks at me and she's like, are you kidding me? Even this? Like, yes, I will cry at America's Got Talent.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Blue and he has this stupid habit of, he'll send me like on Instagram too. They have those like real sappy videos of like, and I may have already told you this, but like last night he sent me one and it was this little girl who's probably 4 or 5 who clearly is supposed to wear braces on her legs because she can't walk. And it's a video of her walking without them and she's like holding on to the ottoman and like her parents are like kind of cheering her on and she keeps saying, do you think I'm going to give up? Do you think I'm going to give up? And like all this stuff. And it has this real emotional music behind it. But Blue purposely sends me stuff like that.
Why?
No, listen, he does it at a specific time. Like if we're both sitting on the couch looking at our phones, he'll send it to me and then like listen for me to play the video. So like he knows whenever I'm listening or watching it, you know, and he'll like pretend to be on his phone and then he'll look over at me and just like wait for me to start crying. And then whenever he does, he's like, what are you doing? You know, like kind of trying to make fun of me or whatever. Yeah. And I'll do the same thing to him. I'll send him some like real sappy, like fatherhood stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And anyway, so
yeah.
I'm done with this stupid game. Like this is so stupid.
Speaking of the Instagram videos, have you seen the one where the spouses, they lay on the floor and they hide like, their head?
Yes.
Or their head is the only thing that
like
you can
out
see.
The door or something. Yes.
So we were watching that last night, me and Willem, and Jordan went to the restroom. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do it right now. It's dark and it's going to be great. So I go into our entry. I lay down. Well, the thing that I didn't really consider is our hallway is like freaking 15 feet long. Like he's going to see me.
Way down at the other end. Yeah.
So the second he walks out, my head is on the ground. I'm already looking at him and I just freaking cannot stop laughing. And I can't take a breath. It was that like he's not sure if he should laugh.
Right.
He doesn't know I'm laughing and he's like, what are you doing? But it didn't work. But I'm gonna try really hard to get him on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prank him. God, that's so funny. Yeah, I have seen those. But yeah,
speaking of that, they do that kind of stuff to each other all the time at the fire station.
Oh, do they really?
Yes.
Oh, so he's used to the pranks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And like they flower each other. So like if they're taking a shower or something, they'll like
oh, that would be so awful.
What else have they done? Man, there's a lot.
Yeah. Well, y'all used to prank me, remember at State Farm?
Yeah. Now I'm thinking about jokes and I know. Supposed to be thinking about death.
I know. We started off on a good note with the death talk and the sad stuff, and then we got sidetracked.
It is crazy. It's crazy because I can relate to how they disconnect.
Right.
Like they disconnect from this because it is their job and they like emotionally I feel like they have to disconnect because these are crazy stories that happen.
Yeah.
I can relate to that disconnection because so there was this story. Jordan came home and he told me, he said, we ran a call today and the way that the blood was on his face suggested there might have been some foul play. So I look at him and I'm like, you know how, like,
You can tell? Right.
by the way that blood, like, I'm thinking, you're supposed to be an accountant. Like, I have been pretending for years that you are an accountant.
Yeah.
And so I disconnect. I do not think about him, my husband, voluntarily goes into fires, and puts himself in all these dangerous scenarios. And I have to disconnect from that.
Yeah.
And actually, there's a hoseman, and that's when you first get on the job, you're a hoseman. Then your next bump up is a driver. The driver is the safest job. Because you're manning the truck. You're making sure the truck is good.
Yeah.
The next one, lieutenant. And you're back in the fire and you have more responsibility. And on top of that, you're not that you don't have responsibility for your crew before that, but you have more.
Right.
So anyway, now he's lieutenant. Right. And I'm thinking, okay, I have to think about this again because another thing is they get real excited about actually going to a fire.
Really?
All of them.
Yeah.
They are so excited to see a fire.
Yeah. Do you not get enough of that?
I know.
This is your job.
They really don't.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they get 90% of their calls are actually medical. Right. I mean, they really do get those stupid phone calls of like, oh, my nose is bleeding.
Yeah.
And I can't, like.
Or the cat's stuck in the tree.
Yeah. But they really do get a ton of those calls. And so when they get a fire, they're excited. And it's, I don't know. But whenever I'm meeting these people, meeting these men or boys.
Right.
I can tell pretty quickly, like, I don't know. I am just a lot more harsh on these men than I would be anybody else. Like, I remember this one guy, kid, whatever, coming, and he's a rookie, and I was immediately like, I don't freaking like that guy. I asked him to do something one night and for Jordan, and he said he would, and he didn't. And I, from that day, like, I'm pretty sure I verbally told him, like, I hate you. Nobody's talking to you. Like, go away.
Yeah.
And I don't do that. Like, I'm not mean like that. Sure enough, he's not a firefighter anymore. But you have to realize that if we ask you to do something simple or the firefighters are asking you to do something simple.
Yeah.
And you can't handle it.
Right.
How the hell are you going to handle going into a fire and keep
listening to instruction?
Right. Are you going to lay down your life for my husband?
Right.
Because I know without a doubt he would do that for you.
Right.
So
you can tell pretty quickly, though, is what you're saying, like who's going to last and who's not. Okay, so I do have one question. Do you talk to any of the firefighters' wives, any of the other wives, about how they feel about it? Like,
I don't think so. I think we're all pretty like hard on it. Like, we're tough about it.
Right.
Like, so my sister so Jordan's brother is a firefighter, and so my sister-in-law is a firefighter's wife. Close with her. Mallory Ray, her husband's a firefighter. And then Heather Ladd. So Micah is on this podcast. Yes. And Heather, they're really the only ones that I'm ever around.
Yeah. So they disconnect, you think, too?
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. But I should probably talk about that more. But my husband's an accountant. So
right. So what would you have to talk about?
I don't have to talk about that.
Yeah.
But it's pretty crazy. But Micah's freaking goofball. Dory, I mean, have you met Dory? Surely.
Oh, well, I was going to say, does he have a really big mustache? But they all do at some point, right?
Yeah, but he's got a bald head.
Was he one of the guys that came by that one day?
Probably. Oh, yeah,
they were going to do something for Jordan, but he wasn't here or something?
Yeah.
I don't remember, but we
Yeah.
were doing the podcast
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
showed up. Okay, then I do kind of I remember that name. So
Well, he is a blast. He's fun. He's also single, ladies.
a single firefighter.
Yeah. He's so fun, and he's just part of our family. But yeah, they all are.
Yeah.
I love them.
So
Actually, not all. They're not all. It's their truck, their crew.
That's what I was gonna say.
Their station.
So that was the thing too. Like, because they're on these schedules together, I'm sure they get very close to each other. Like, a brotherhood type situation.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to live together pretty much.
So they have to. They work for 24 hours. They're off 24. Then they work 24, off a day. Then they go back the next day. But then they're off 4 days in a row. So their schedule is pretty freaking awesome. Like, we have a 4-day weekend all the time.
Right.
And when I don't have a regular 8 to 5, it's like, hey, we can do whatever.
Yeah. You're one of those people. Y'all are some of those people that sometimes whenever I'm at lunch, on my lunch break, I'm driving down Sansi or wherever trying to get where I'm going. And there's some people that are, just driving the speed limit. Really. They're not speeding like I am. And I want them to be speeding because I'm in a hurry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are these people doing at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon?
Right.
Like, why are they not at work? And
Right.
Why?
Yep. That's me. And it's crazy too, because every time he's moved, I get a new group of these brothers, and like his first ever station, like, I don't see those guys anymore.
Was it over by our house?
No, it was over by Grand.
Oh, okay.
In the Walmart.
Was he
on
ever
Grand.
at the one by Woodlands?
No, but Jarrett is, I think.
Okay.
So.
Okay, sorry. Anyway.
But yeah, like, those guys that he was on with, like, I don't talk to them much anymore because they're just not around each other anymore.
Right. So do they kind of fall off, like, communication with them too? Yeah.
But then it's the same thing is, like, those guys, they're going to get into more relationship with the guys they're with.
The new guys.
Too.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about that crew is I know I can call any one of those guys and if I needed something.
Yeah.
And I haven't talked to you in 6 years, but I know you're gonna
Right.
help
Isn't
me.
that great?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I didn't realize that until just now.
See?
Yeah.
It's almost like, you hear like the war stories and stuff of like guys who've been overseas and like served time. That sounds like prison.
Yeah.
Served our country.
Yeah. Right.
But like those guys, like, you can, like, even my dad would kind of talk about some people that he was in the army with, and they like get emotional talking about their crew, their people, because they build such a bond with them.
Yeah.
Because they're the only people in the world who understand what you're going through at that moment.
Yeah.
Because they're going through the exact same thing. So I can only imagine what kind of, like you said, brotherhood you build with these people, these guys.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yep, it is. Okay. So, Micah Ladd.
Yes.
Dory Mogelinski.
Sorry. Say that.
Dory Mogelinski.
Okay.
The Moog. I don't know if I feel like they call him that. I could
If
be
not,
making
you
that
just
up.
gave him a really badass nickname.
I think they call him that. They also call him Chief of the People because he is a hoseman, but he is, so that's like when you first get on, you are a hoseman. And so he is a hoseman, but he's been doing that for 28 years.
Oh.
So he never wanted to, or if he did, he just didn't. I don't know. But he never promoted to driver, which driver is the safest.
Who's the driver of Jordan's?
The driver of Jordan's, it might be Micah. He might have just did a promotion.
That's okay.
I think it might be. But And so then you just get more and more responsibility, right?
Yeah.
So Dory didn't want any responsibility.
Yeah.
So he just stayed on as a hostman and has been a hostman for 28 years. And he just has fun. And that's like they say that's the fun job. Mm-hmm. It's also the dangerous job. So anyway, and
because is the hostman the one who's actually responsible for like putting out the fire with the water?
You would think. And you would think that I would know this.
But you do know that that's not what a hostman does.
I feel like the hostman handles the hose, but also it's a really big hose.
Right.
So I think there's more people on it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. All I know
it's a
is
really big hose.
Yeah. The driver is at the truck, manning the truck.
Right.
And then lieutenant is also in the fire.
Right.
But like making calls and stuff. Like
right.
Of like who goes where, what you do, and kind of thing. Which Jordan is a lieutenant.
Mm-hmm. I do remember he got promoted. When was that? Like, it was
this summer, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a few months ago. I remember seeing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and he got promoted with his brother. Mm-hmm. So there's 2 Lieutenant Mcaffreys.
Yes.
It's pretty crazy.
Both J. Mcaffrey.
Yes.
So if you are needing a specific one, you better know the actual first name.
Mine is the funny one. Jarrett won't listen to this. But anyway, so
Micah, Jordan,
and Dory.
And those were the 3 that were on. Yeah.
Yep. And they are just chatting about death.
Yeah.
Which once they kind of like get into it, like it's pretty crazy. Mm-hmm. There's a story in there about somebody being completely like coherent and their body being like they are clearly going to die, and they are only concerned about where their daughter is.
Yeah.
But listen for that story.
Yeah.
But they have a million stories like this, and it's just crazy.
Yeah.
And anyway, so we'll let you listen to it.
So listen to it.
Yeah. Okay.
That'll work.
You lead me. That's why we call you Chief of the People.
That's right.
Chief of the People.
Of the People. So I brought you up also in that last podcast. Did you hear about it?
No, sir.
I knew you didn't hear it. You're a liar.
I didn't listen.
He did not listen to it. He sat here and said he listened to it. He didn't listen to
the whole podcast. We didn't have service when I was trying to listen to it, and because I was like, "Oh, we're doing a podcast." I need to listen to that whole thing.
Yeah.
And I don't get good phone service. AT&T sucks at Monument Lake in Colorado.
AT&T sucks everywhere.
No, so what I brought up in that podcast about you was you writing a book.
Oh, yeah. My daughter got me a deal to start.
For real?
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Because when she was at the station and we talked about that on Amazon Day where you get free delivery, she bought me a Dad Tell Me Your Story book, and I'm supposed to start filling in everything from being a baby to now.
Heck yeah. I love it.
You know, I wish I would have started like a spiral notebook of stuff from day one in the fire service, of stories that I've heard, witnessed. I wish I'd have started that from day one and just kept notes so far throughout my career, because there's been some good stuff and there's a ton of stuff I've forgotten.
Yeah.
I know.
So did y'all have Bill Hoagland in y'all's academy? Did he teach y'all in y'all's academy?
He did, I believe.
So Bill Hoagland told me, just get a book and write down every significant call you make. And I did that for the first 2 years of my career, and then I stopped. So I've got some of it written down, but I wish I'd have done the same thing.
But you got a dang good memory, I think.
Well,
my memory's pretty terrible.
My memory was good until the cancer took it from me.
So
it's kind of funny that his name is Dory, but my kids call me Dory because my memory
from the movie
from the
Nemo,
movie
yeah.
Nemo.
Well, my stepkids, man, they're smart.
Yeah. Just to catch up, everybody that's listening, we're all local firefighters at the local fire department. So, Dory, you've been a senior hosman, or you've been a hosman for what,
8 years.
28 years. You are the most senior guy on the whole department. And then Micah, you've been in what, 14?
13.
13 years. And I've only been 11. No big deal, but so we've seen some things, done some things, but like I said, my memory's terrible, and some of that's good, some of that's bad.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to flush some stuff out. But
What do you have to flush?
some of the stuff, some of the
Some of
gore, some of the whatever, the stuff you don't want to carry with you forever. But that brings me to our main topic, which I kind of told y'all yesterday a little bit about, but specifically death and what we feel about that from our perspectives personally, but also department-wide. But
Yeah, that's a deep topic.
deep topic. I'm going to let y'all...
Can be deep.
Yeah.
Kennedy?
Kennedy. He said can be.
Oh, can be.
Kennedy can be. You forgot to mention Dory doesn't have the best of hearing.
Yeah. He's a little hard of hearing.
Yeah, a lot harder hearing. I feel like I'll be in hearing aids by the end of my career.
Has nothing to do with the fireworks at the fire station
No, because we don't do
over the
that.
years.
We don't do that.
Because we don't do that.
No, I think that goes hand in hand with what we do with all the, I mean, we know this, but for everybody out there listening, the stuff we
The
go
three
through.
people.
Yeah, there you go. 3 people that
We'll probably go back and listen.
are going to hear this. All the stuff we see and the trauma that we go through, which I don't feel like it's that big a deal sometimes, but we have to enjoy the times we're at the station, and we get into some shenanigans to keep our heads on right. And anywho, what's your thoughts on
Death?
And it doesn't just...
My personal thoughts on death is I'm not afraid of it. What I think about death isn't, oh my gosh, what's going to be like to die? My thought is, what's it going to be like afterwards? Like, one day I'm here, the next day I'm not. And if you believe what you read in the Bible, if you're religious, then I know it's going to be glory instantly. But I'm not afraid to die. My thoughts are always like, man, you're just not here anymore. What's that going to be like?
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
It's pretty crazy to think about. You know, we've all had loved ones die. You look, you think, and you're like, there's no more communication with them on Earth. You know, so it's pretty wild. My thought on death is, of course, we've all seen in our line of work, we've all seen lifeless people laying there, and it's so weird to think about. Like in the heat of the moment, you don't think, poor them or any. I mean, for the most part, we're trying to do our job at that point when we're called. But it is crazy to think about, like, the family members sometimes that are standing around, like, there's no more communication with these people. What do they believe? Like, do they go to heaven? Do they go to hell? Like, where's their soul? You know what I mean? At this point, there's been some movies come out, for the most part recently, about life after death. I can't remember the name of that movie where it's based on some true events with people that have died and then came back to life. Y'all know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, there's one.
I've seen that. The little girl.
Golly, I can't remember what the name of the movie is.
There's a movie where the little girl dies and she falls out of a tree or something. She comes back and
I haven't seen that one, I don't think.
The guy dies in a plane crash, hovers over the scene for a little bit, recalls all of this, sees like people around it, sees his lifeless body laying there, and then he comes back to life. Like basically he goes back into his body somewhat.
Dang.
And comes and like there's a movie about it, but I think about that kind of stuff when I see people that are dead.
Yeah.
Like, are they watching? You know, like, are they watching us do CPR on them? Like, are they hovering? Is their soul? Is there?
That's wild.
Yeah,
Mine's gonna be
like I've thought about that doing CPR on somebody that has been lifeless for 15 or 20 minutes or longer, thinking, man, are they watching us?
Yeah.
Like that's pretty
I don't know
weird
if I've
feeling
thought of
when you
that.
think about that. When we're in the middle of trying to save somebody's life that's we deem lifeless.
Yeah.
Think about are they watching us work their physical body?
I don't think I've thought of that. Like
It's pretty wild.
disconnect, and I don't know if that's just me. What do you call that? Just trying to
Like
stay
you-
out of the.
Yeah, you like compartmentalize the situation and be like
I do my job.
keep your emotion out of it.
Yeah, try not
Yeah.
to think too far into that. I mean, I think, all three of us being Christian, for us, for me, I'll speak for myself. For me personally, being a Christian man and thinking the way I think and the way I believe, I think there is a heaven and there is an afterlife and God is real. And so all those, that helps me be able to be healthy and compartmentalizing all this death that I do see. It's like, okay, our life on here is but a whisper, I think is what the scriptures say. It's just a fraction of time. And even being on this earth, I mean, that's hard to think about.
Well,
years
and-
go by and it's like, man, that's crazy that this is just a little split second of time.
Yeah, and going back to what Micah said, like it also depends on what you're doing. Is it a child? Is it an older person? Is it a bad car wreck? Did somebody just get sick and die? Like I don't know. I feel differently depending on who we're with or who we're working on.
And the circumstances.
Yeah, the
around
circumstances.
it. The movie's called After Death.
After death.
Yeah, it's based on real events. It's a documentary. It's pretty good.
I might have to look that up.
Me and my
Check it
family went and watched it, and it's people that are. I mean, it is a documentary. It's not fictional, but it's people telling their story based on events that happened to them. But yeah, it's pretty wild, and it's going back to people that have died in an accident or whatever, that basically they raise up out of their body, and it's like Jesus is like, I'm not really ready to take you back or bring you home. You're going back. And so they get glimpses of the afterlife and like heaven, and then they go right back into their earthly body. Go watch it.
That's cool.
It's really neat.
The one I'm talking about is called Heaven is for Real. Heaven is for real.
Oh, there's
Yeah,
a book.
There is a book about that.
And that's supposedly
I
a
read
true
the book.
story.
Believe it or not.
But speaking on what Micah said, like you die and God's like, I'm not ready for you yet. Just wait till Micah walks up. God's going to be like, I'm not quite ready for that.
Yeah,
we don't have time for your shenanigans. I'm going to give you a little bit more time on earth.
Man,
And then he's going to wake up and Heather's going to go, damn.
Dude.
go back, you dipshit. Man, I've got so many thoughts on that.
So
That-
recently there was a Joe Rogan podcast. Bring him up and all this, but
Yeah, that's what gave me the desire for podcast is Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
He's my favorite.
There was
other
this
than
guy
Alexis.
just a week and a half, 2 weeks ago that I listened to. He was on there pretty recent. Don't know his name. I could look it up, but I'm not gonna. Anyways, this guy explains this story because Joe brought it up. He's like, I heard you almost died. And so he tells this full-blown story in detail. It was insane. Go listen to it for yourself. I don't remember his name. But the point is he explains that he's not a Christian man. Like, he doesn't believe, he's just, that's the way his dad raised him and that's who he is and blah, blah, blah. But explaining him coding and dying and seeing what he saw, which his dead father coming and saying, hey, come with me. And, kind of what you're talking about, like almost floating in the room and seeing people working on him.
That's a great explanation, is like floating, because that's how the people in that movie talk about it. They're hovering or floating over their lifeless physical earthly body. Like,
That's how
But
they
to hear that from somebody that doesn't believe in God and doesn't believe, and still, even after, he was like, I believe in, there's something after death. Right. Obviously, I saw what I saw. And I'm sitting there like scratching my head, like, how can you not after that? Anyways, it's just wild what he had to say, because usually you hear it from a Christian perspective.
I will say this about death. Probably before I became a firefighter, death was a little bit scary to me. I've changed, like, being in this line of service, I know y'all would 100% agree. It's molded me in a different way. It's changed who I am.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
My mentality on life in general, a lot of things. I mean, and we won't have to go into all of it, but death doesn't scare me. It doesn't scare me at all anymore, because I've seen it so much. I'm just like, we walk up into it's the circle of life, right? Yeah. Well, you walk into a room and it's like family members are freaking out, or we show up to a car wreck and there's somebody in the vehicle dead, and I'm like, oh dang, that sucks for them.
Yep.
Like, it's almost
See
like
on the other side.
This line of work, this profession has almost stripped me of my emotion. And you can ask my wife, like,
exactly.
In 13 years of doing this, I'm a little bit different person. Like, I have less emotion about that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, that's how I am. I don't know. How are y'all?
That's super true.
That's me too. And my part-time job, picking up dead people off duty, like, I have no emotion towards it. I talk to the family. I show them the respect that they deserve, but like, it's just another day in the life.
I think that's the way it should be, though, obviously. Like, as much as we see, as much as we go through, you build some sort of a callus to it. Yeah. And what's crazy is I witnessed for myself, yet again, being a Christian, and you're supposed to have compassion. And my compassion has gone out the window for a lot of things and a lot of situations. And I agree. I have to fight back to, hey, I got to care about this or that or this person. Right.
Well, and my compassion on the job for certain things is gone. And I have a totally different compassion working for the funeral home. Like, I have way more compassion for the family when I show up at your house to pick up your loved one than I do when I show up to your house as a firefighter doing the actual work. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's weird. It's I basically show up and go to work as a firefighter, and I show up and pick up your loved one as a funeral home worker, and my compassion's two totally different things for each job.
Isn't it crazy how we've been shaped and molded and formed in that way as a person because of our job? Yeah. You have a desk job, an 8 to 5 job. Like, I don't feel like you don't lose that. Like, if you have compassion, you're not losing it. You come to work where we see blood and guts and gore and death.
sometimes
I
putting
mean,
ourselves
we're-
in danger.
Yeah, we see people in their worst day.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
On
we
the
don't,
regular.
We don't get to go to people that are doing great. We respond to people that are having their very worst day.
Yep.
And yeah, it's crazy to like how
And that's why
this job has done that to us.
Yeah.
Like it's just callous you.
Exactly.
You know, like I'm sure I'm speaking for all three of us, but I roll up on a dead person. I'm like, oh, they're dead.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
He's
whatever.
gone. Yeah.
Well,
Like,
and
which
I
is,
mean,
you know, I mean,
probably
not,
sounds terrible
It does
to
sound
everybody
terrible,
else,
but it's
but-
true.
It's
Yeah.
like that
It's
call
true.
where the guy was in the bathtub that we made, and walk in and look, and he's blue and black, and
Oh yeah,
he's
me and
not
Dory
moving.
made
It's
this
like,
call.
hey man, he's dead, 1079, and it's just like, all right, well, we're done. Then he takes a breath, and you're like, oh shit, he's alive.
We better do
I
something.
mean, it's that's where it's at. Like, oh well, there's a dead guy in the bathtub. Okay, yep, he's 1079. I'm gonna go put the bags up, and then Micah says, "Oh wait, he took a breath." Like, oh shit.
Like we were literally about to walk out of the bathroom, and I went over to check him one more time, and I
Yeah.
see his chest rise and fall, but he's slumped over the bathtub
Golly.
with
Black and
water
blue.
in it, like brown, like he's been there a while,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, "Oh shit, Dory, come back in here. We got to get him. He's breathing."
alive.
Like,
And then
we
Dory
almost
got
walked out thinking, oh, he's dead.
Yeah. Dory got
You
a
know?
glove full of
Oh yeah, I had to reach an
Nasty
elbow
bath
deep
water.
bath water to
Didn't-
pop the plug so we could get in there and get him out.
God.
Like, no radial pulses. Like, we were just like, he's dead.
Yeah.
No,
Hell, the
he
guy
wasn't.
sitting on the couch is like, he's been in there for a while. He's dead. Yes.
He didn't even. Yeah.
His roommate. Like, that dude didn't care whatsoever about his roommate.
his-
He's like,
he
yeah,
didn't
he's
have
been in
any
there. He drinks
compassion.
all the time.
Yeah.
He's dead. He wasn't.
So all that, all that we see, death, destruction, all the stuff, we could talk about that for hours,
Days.
but it's still the best job in the world.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And it's wild how that works. Like how, we become calloused on those things, and I don't know the right words, hard or whatever. But going into work, man, it's just an exciting place to be, especially when you're with a group of guys that you enjoy, look up to, and you don't know what's going to happen that day. You don't know. At the drop of a hat, everything could go terrible, depending on a crazy call
Yeah.
but
That's what I
Or
love about
backing
the
a
job.
fire truck into a telephone pole.
That's what I love about the job.
I wasn't going to bring that up, but Dory brought it up.
Well,
Why'd you bring that up, Dory?
Well,
That's wrong.
it's. I mean,
Wrong.
He's right here.
but
That's what I love
he is
about the
right
job,
here.
though, honestly, is you never know what you're getting into when you walk through the door.
Yeah.
You may not make a call. You may make 25 calls. You may make 10 deaths in a day. You don't know what. You don't
Yeah.
know. You have
Yeah.
an 8 to 5 job. You know what you're getting into when you sit down at your desk.
Exactly.
You know what the next day has in store for you. We don't know what the next day has in store for us.
Nope.
We don't
You
even
know.
know if we're going to see the next day.
We don't. And I mean,
And
that's why
talking
we have
about
life
compassion,
insurance, right?
the compassion for what we do, like losing the compassion, but every single day we have compassion for each other. Like when I show up to work, I truly am happy, excited to be at work and see you guys. And when our regulars don't come in, like Micah's off all the time, and those days are a little different. Like it's like, dang. When you got somebody there that you don't normally work with, so life at the fire station is that's what keeps us sane, I think.
Yeah.
That's where my compassion is going to work every day. It may not be for some of the calls we make, but it's going to work and seeing the guys that I work with.
Yeah. And it's that bond, that brotherhood is what it's called, but
I know I'm on record because this is being recorded, but I I hate to say it, but for the whole time Dory was off on days with the fire academy, how many times were we like, man, I wish Dory was here?
Yeah.
Everything would be a
No,
little bit
all
more
the
lively.
time. Every
know?
shift.
So you do, like Dory's right. You have this bond with these guys, and when a couple of guys are off, it just changes the whole dynamic of the crew for that 24 hours.
And you can feel
and
it.
you miss it. You can feel it, you know. And it's not always a bad thing, but you can feel it, and you're like, dang, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I said it earlier, chief of the people. You know, that's Dory's title that we give him.
yeah,
But we mean that because we have a high respect for him because of the amount of time he's been there, but also the fun and the enjoyment of station life that he brings.
Yeah.
Because he can get wild on stuff, and it's a blast to watch. Now that I'm an officer, it makes me a little more nervous, but...
Well, and you know, I've said this before, and I truly mean it. Like, guys are like, man, why are you so happy? Why do you like? There's guys that don't like coming to work. I'm like, I love this job. It's my family.
Yeah.
I have 3 kids that I love to death. They're grown up. They're gone. They do their thing. The only thing I have other than my kids is the fire station and that family that I have up there. That's why everything I do is either with my kids or my fire department family.
Yeah.
And when you lose that fire department family, even if it's just going to days for 4 months, it's hard. It's tough.
Bet.
I don't know what's going to happen when I retire, and what I've known for all my life, and what gets me through is gone. It's going to be a tough day.
Yeah, that'll be tough to lose you. I mean, department wide. But
Getting back to death,
sure.
what are your feelings on death?
Me?
Yeah.
I kind of explained a little bit of it that
Like, what
My
do you
roots-
think? What does it scare you? Are you?
it doesn't scare me. So when I first got in the thoughts, the ideas of becoming a firefighter, I was like, can I even handle blood and guts and death? And you know, we all go through that. Like, can I do this on the regular?
I didn't go through.
You
that.
didn't go through that?
No.
God, you're so salt of the earth right there. Anyways, I went through it, and I did a ride along with Jarrett because my brother Jarrett, he was already on the fire department.
Oh, the Jarrett Mcaffrey.
The Mcaffrey. Anywho, I rode with him, and it was probably 2 a.m. We had a nasty call where it was a rollover, not far from Station 12, and it ejected one girl, and you know they didn't let me off the truck until just because I was a ride along until everything was taken care of. But I could see everything from the fire truck, and I could hear the girl screaming, you know, for her life. The one that was trapped in the car, and the other one was just folded, you know, backwards. I mean, she was done. And to just witness that and think, oh my gosh, like here it is. How can you handle that? Like, are you handling this? And immediately, like, my thought was, I can help the girl in the car screaming for help. She's still viable. I didn't create this situation. I didn't create the chaos, but I can assist. I can help this to become a better outcome. And for me, it was just a switch at that point. Like, I can do this, and I'm excited to do this. So, no, I don't get scared or anything like that. But like we were talking, I think over time that callus gets, you know, thicker or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it. And then obviously death for me, I do believe in heaven. I do believe, you know, in what my Bible says. And for me, it's easy to compartmentalize that and explain to, in my own head and in my own thoughts that, you know, there's life, there's death. So that's my explanation on death. But
Well, I think everybody looks at it differently, obviously, but I think as first responders, whether you're fire, cop, ambulance driver, we look at it differently. We see it a little different than the guy that sits in an office like 8 to 5, like Micah says. But I'd like to sit down with somebody that's not a first responder and talk to them about how they view death, how they view what we see from an outsider's point of view. I'd like to know that opinion.
yeah,
I know that there's a bad car wreck about a month ago over near my house, and we rolled up. Me and my kids were going to, or my son and his buddy were going to Academy Sports, and we're driving up
That's
the
a
road, and I
plug.
see
If you want to sponsor us, that's a plug. Academy Sports and
Academy
Outdoors.
Sports and Outdoors. Anyway, we're rolling up, and I see all these lights coming up, and I'm like, man, like there's a wreck up here, no big deal, whatever. Well, I'm not a quarter mile from it. Another fire truck rolls up, and anyway, we get up to the light, and they've got the fire trucks have the intersection blocked off. You can see 2 bodies right next to the cars, and they're actually like in the middle of putting sheets over them. And I was like, my boy and his son are freaking out, and so they're like, are those people dead? Are those people dead? And I'm like, and then this is how calloused I am. I'm like, yeah, they're dead. Like, it happens,
they go.
Yeah.
And
I didn't think twice about it. And then I started thinking, like, these 2 boys in my truck, they don't see death. They don't witness this.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine how they're feeling looking at these 2 bodies, lifeless bodies on the ground, in this intersection. And they're like, they're dead, And of course, I'm like, yeah, they're dead, whatever. Like, it happens. It's a circle of life.
If
Yeah.
you'd have
You
got
know?
there before the fire truck, would you have got out and done anything?
Of course.
I know guys.
Of course I
I know
would've.
guys that say they'll drive right by an accident. If they see something, they'll drive right by because they don't want to mess with it.
No, if I
Dang.
feel like it needs, like there needs to be a first responder there to help control the chaos before the on-duty guys get there, I'm stopping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's a fender bender, I just keep going. I'm like, hey, everybody's out of
Yeah.
the car. You know how we do it when
Oh,
we
yeah.
pull up in a fire truck. Like,
Look, who's this guy
we
waving us
disregard
down?
the other fire truck coming. We're like, everybody's out. It looks to be minor. You know, the other fire truck, you can return to service. I'm the same way in my mind. I pull up. If I see a wreck, I'm like, everybody's out walking around. I don't need to stop. There's nothing I can do at this point.
Right. But if it's a
But
dire
if it's
situation,
chaotic,
yeah.
I'm going to get out and start doing the very best I can with no tools other than my triage, my mind of who needs to, what can I tell the first responders as they're getting on scene, who's critical, who's not. That's all I can do, but I will do it 100%.
Or if like the situation me and Briley found ourselves in, you may roll up on an accident, and when the firemen show up from a department and they don't know how to use your jaws, and me and Briley literally cut a guy out of a car for a department because they didn't know how to use their tools.
That's not good.
No. And I won't say that the department or where it was at, but if me and Briley hadn't have stopped, the car ran up under the back end of a semi or a trailer. And if we hadn't have stopped, I don't know that they had ever got them cut out of that car.
Golly. That's crazy.
Pretty wild.
I know that's off our topic
Yeah.
of death. But,
No,
And
that's-
I'm going to take a drink of my Dutch Brothers iced coffee.
If you want to sponsor
That's a
Dutch
plug.
Bros,
That's a plug.
Dutch Bros. Man, how big is it that they take? You can order from the app now.
Oh, you can order
Did y'all
from
know
the
that?
app
I didn't
before you
know.
ever get there?
Yeah. Have I told
Wow.
y'all yet?
Micah told us right before the podcast.
That's good to know. That's really good to know.
I wasn't sure if I told y'all or not.
Man.
You know, we're talking about being callous and all that stuff. Let's flip it to the other side of our job, and the calls that we make that are so far from death, like the 3 a.m. stub toe.
Yeah.
Like, how calloused are you guys to those kind of calls?
So that was kind of
You
my
know,
point
like, give
at the
me a
beginning.
break.
Yeah, that was kind of my point at the beginning of what I was explaining to callous. Like, I have no compassion for people that think it's the worst time of their life with a nosebleed or a stub toe. Like,
Yeah.
you called 911 for this?
Yeah.
Or
I
how
don't
many
know
people
which-
don't know that if their smoke alarm or CO alarm beeps every minute, that it's a low battery, not a smoke or CO issue. Like
There's a lot of people out there that don't know that. Yes.
2 o'clock
We've
in the
witnessed it.
morning, we show up because they got a smoke alarm going off and it's beeping every minute because the battery's going dead.
Yeah.
Like,
They
I
have
mean, a
that-
little old lady.
if we're going to campaign on anything, it should be understanding your smoke alarms and CO alarms.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Little
the
old
little lady that doesn't
needs
understand it
help.
doesn't get it 100%.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what I said earlier. Like, it depends on the particular person. Like a 25-year-old dude in his apartment, and he doesn't know the difference between a smoke alarm going off and a low battery. You want to slap the shit out of that guy. But little old lady, I'll change every battery in her house at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And
we've all done that.
yeah. And then sit down and talk to her about her grandson.
Yep.
So
Yeah, those kind of calls, I'm really callous to those people. Like, it's going to take me to lose an arm or a leg to call 911
Right.
after being in this service. Like, I'm not just calling 911 because it's accessible. You know, like, load
Yeah,
me
it's
up and
not
take
a-
me to the ER.
when I retire, I'm
like-
calling 911 all the time.
I bet you do.
You're going to screw us, huh?
I bet you do.
Yeah. When I retire, you guys are going to run more calls than you've ever run.
You told my dad you're going to help him throw chains up on the power lines.
man. Chains on
And
the
you're going
power
to light
lines.
dumpster fires. And
Can they arrest me before
hey,
I
this
do
is
it?
recorded.
Can they arrest me before we do it? Or does it have? Is that premeditated?
No, I don't think so. I mean, there's only 3 of us going to listen to this.
Premeditated
Yeah, right.
arson. That's premeditated arson.
Premeditated.
You burn the trash in the dumpster, you're going to jail.
If I'd have known as a kid about dumpster fires, the fire department would have been so busy in my neighborhood.
I have thought that myself before.
I cannot believe I didn't think about that before I got on the job. If I'd have known about dumpster fires, Station 5 would have been the busiest station in Amarillo, Texas.
That reminds me of a story. When I was a kid, my buddy's house, the back end of it, butted up against La Paloma, and it was not in La Paloma.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you.
The Rosenbachs.
Yeah. Silver spoon. Y'all
Silver
build silver spoons in your mouth.
No, so we were lighting fireworks, and we used to do it, throw them in this little tunnel as those golf carts went by, or if somebody's on their backswing at the golf course. We'd toss these black cats, and it would boom, loud, and we'd run off laughing. Well, my buddy's younger brother, he lit one off, and I watch him, and it felt like slow-mo watching. He lights it, and instead of throwing the black cat, he drops the match in this tall, dry grass
Uh-oh.
and lit La Paloma on fire.
Oh,
And I mean,
dang.
because as soon as it hit, we're trying to stomp it out. No, it took off. And I sprint back to their house, and I'm like, Scott, to their dad. He comes out in his whitey tighties, he's taking a nap, and he's like, what? I was like, the golf course is on fire. And he's like, God dang it.
I bet.
Trying to stretch a garden hose out there. And sure enough, it put itself out. But it was a good black patch of...
I thought we were fixing to get Jordan in trouble,
No.
Statute of
It
limitations
wasn't me.
probably
It
out.
wasn't me.
but you're an accomplice.
Yeah, right. Fireworks are fun.
They are fun.
Oh, yeah. Light them off in the station.
I've thought about doing that before, but
Me too, but I'm afraid I'll get in trouble.
yeah, I don't want to get in trouble.
We can't give ourselves away on some of this, but
Yeah.
they're
I-
fun.
They're fun. They're fun.
Yeah, they'd be fun. What about the people that bring their fireworks to the fire station
For
and
us to
drop them
dispose
off?
of.
And they're like, can y'all dispose of this? Yes, we
Yeah,
sure can.
So that's
We
kind of what I
actually
was
have
saying.
a lockbox that we have to go drop those in that nobody has a key to. So
If you're out there listening to this, bring your fireworks to the station. We'll dispose of them properly.
Yes. Probably just like the cops dispose of your alcohol properly. No different.
yeah, just put that in the trunk of my car. I'll take care of that.
Yeah, I'll take it out and dump it out.
That's a joke. That's a joke. Edit that out.
Edit that out.
Hey, we're getting off topic.
Yeah, we are.
Way off
What's the
topic.
topic?
What was our topic?
It was death. But
Oh, death.
I feel like we've covered it pretty well. As far
We
as
did
that.
cover
we
death.
We can move on to whatever.
We have moved on already. You know, speaking of seeing dead people, it's interesting to me what the human body can go through and survive. Like, I've seen a guy cut in half by a train and he's still talking. I've seen a lady with all her limbs cut off and she's sitting there talking to us, not crying, not screaming, not going crazy. She only concern is where's her daughter.
God,
Like, the things the human body can go through and survive is amazing to me. The human body is an amazing thing.
it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
It fights to survive. It fights
Yeah.
to stay alive. Like,
And the dude cut in half obviously died, but he was still talking to us until we pulled the trains apart and he fell in two pieces.
golly.
Pretty wild to think about. You know, think about not only what we've seen in our town of 200,000 people, but think about the big cities. Think about, I mean, first responders everywhere and some
Chicago,
of the things
Detroit.
that those guys have seen. You
That's,
know,
yeah,
like
that's wild. You think they see things different?
I don't.
I think they see.
I think they see different things.
Really? Just
I think
the
they see
population?
similar stuff, but I think they see just worse stuff. I mean,
More of it
Dang,
happens more often.
I hadn't thought about that. To be honest,
yeah, somewhere like Detroit, Chicago, New York. I bet they see a lot of crap that we can't even imagine.
golly, Jeffrey Dahmer shit, huh?
Ugh. Yeah.
How about the freaking TV shows, Chicago Fire and all that?
I
crap?
don't watch them. I don't watch
I
any
watched
of those.
one episode
It's
ever.
so realistic.
Exactly, sarcasm.
Not really.
I've watched the movies, the Ladder 29 or whatever it is, Backdraft. I've seen those, but I don't watch the TV shows.
Yeah, they're pretty terrible.
They're dumb.
I
And
watched
people-
Chicago Fire with my wife when it first came out,
Yeah,
and I'm laying there in bed, and I'm like, I'm pointing out every
Same.
call is like the textbook greatest call in the world. And
Yeah.
I'm like, not realistic,
yep,
not realistic. And she's like, shut up,
yep.
just let me watch. It doesn't happen. She's
And
like,
that
"I
question
figured-"
gets brought up a lot by the public. Is
Yeah.
it just like in the show? And we always, no, not at all. You can't see 2 inches in front of your face
Yeah.
in a real fire.
I've made one fire, an industrial fire, that it looked like the movies.
Yeah.
And it was just outside of town at a Sarco.
Oh, dang.
And it was a huge room, had a lot of machinery in it. Nothing really combustible, but there were spot fires everywhere, and you could see there was no smoke.
That's wild.
But it was
Yeah.
like 3 or 4 story building, and stuff on the catwalk was on fire, and like we walked in and we actually stopped what we were doing and looked around, the 4 of us that went in, and we were like, dude, this looks just like a movie set.
That's crazy.
Like it was pretty wild. And I think we even talked about, does anybody have their phone on them so we could video it? Because
Yeah.
it was literally like that wild. I'll probably never see that again.
Dang.
But there was 7 or 8 machines on fire and a pile of rubble over here, but like you could see throughout the entire building. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's rare to be able to see inside.
Yeah.
You know, talking about movies and shows, probably the most realistic, if you really want to watch a show and be like, oh, that's pretty realistic, is probably Tacoma FD.
That is hilarious.
There's a lot of truth to that. That's hilarious.
I've always talked about doing a reality show. Everybody's always like, man, we need to do a reality show for AFD reality show. And actually, OJ tried to get one done. We actually filmed some stuff and sent it in, and it never took off. But
dang. So do you feel like that would put us in like an HR
yeah,
problem?
Yeah, 100%.
1,000%.
Yeah, HR would be like, we want to hear those jokes. Yeah, that wouldn't be good. But
No.
we would have to. It would have to be legit. Like, we'd have to be careful.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it would happen to us, but I'm going to say you ask about any fire station in America, and probably every guy at that station would admit that they should have been fired at one point or another for some kind of HR violation for what they've done or said in the fire station.
But also they need to stay out of our business because we're the ones that are calloused and can handle the situation.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, there's a difference in HR for the utility worker and HR problems with fire and police. Like, and I know obviously we have the different rules and regulations and Chapter 143 and all that stuff, but like the things that we do to cope wouldn't fly in other departments. It would be
Like
my
city
guess.
departments, not
Yeah.
fire departments.
Yeah,
right?
city departments,
Yeah.
city departments. And that's just the way it is. I mean, the trash truck driver isn't going to see or do the things that we do. And
Yeah,
it's a whole different world.
definitely.
And, you know, I've gone to a lot of conventions and conferences and stuff around the country and the state of Texas, and every fire department talking about, like you did earlier, we all do the same things. We all feel the same way. We all handle things pretty much the same in every department. Guys I've talked to all over the country. So,
Man. So I was going to bring up also what you went through with finding out about your cancer. You found out that you had throat cancer. You had this swollen.
How long ago?
2021.
2021. And kind of what you went through, what you felt as far as people around you that helped you, you know,
Oh, it was
become
amazing.
stronger. And
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, from the day I found out to today, right now, the support that I had from friends, family, the fire department, the citizens of Amarillo, it was amazing. And I didn't want any of it. I didn't even think about any of it. And then all of a sudden, people are telling me, hey, they're doing this, they're doing that. And the support that I got from all over the city of Amarillo was amazing. Firemen, people I knew, people I didn't know, all the first responders, the cops do a fundraiser for me. And the AMR, AMS, whatever we're calling them, like those people came out, they supported, they bought T-shirts, it was amazing the response that I got for that. From the minute I found out, I was like literally driving in a truck with a fireman to a hunting lease to today, the support from the fire department's unbelievable. And I say the fire department and their families, wives. So
You're wearing a shirt today.
yeah,
From your
actually
benefit.
I am. Firefighters that own the GM CrossFit Amarillo threw a fundraiser for me. and had shirts made, and the profits all went to my cancer treatment, and I'm actually wearing that shirt today.
For those of you listening, Dory sure likes to throw the cancer card out there and make everybody feel sorry for him. We don't feel sorry for him anymore.
Speaking of that, is it true you got
card.
Firefighter of the Year just because you got cancer?
That's the rumor.
What
Well,
Carlos.
I actually got Firefighter of the Year 2019, and if Carlos hadn't put together a campaign to keep me from getting Firefighter of the Year, I'm pretty sure I'd have got it in 2021 for
Golly.
cancer. But Carlos single-handedly shot that down.
We will go out of our way in the fire service to make sure our buddies are more miserable than happy.
It's part of that brotherhood.
Speaking of Carlos, shout out. He had a brand new baby girl yesterday.
Yeah, congrats if you're listening.
Most babies aren't cute when they're born, but his baby was cute. Pretty cute little girl.
There you go.
The rumor is she's already pregnant again.
Oh,
Yeah, rumor has it. Rumor has it they're on
That'd be number
5.
5. It's crazy the different guys we work with, the different personalities that come together to create the brotherhood we're talking about, and all aspects of life. I mean, you got one guy, well, just the different guys,
Personalities.
the
Yeah.
different backgrounds, different ways we were raised, and yet we can still come together, have a good time, share family time, as we call it, and
At the
enjoy
dinner
the
table.
job for what it is. And when this shit does hit the fan, we can count on that guy. you
Yeah,
know?
there's guys that I work with every day that outside the fire department, I probably never would have spoke a word to. But they're firemen, and we live together, and there's nothing I wouldn't do for them. But outside of AFD, I probably wouldn't even talk to them. Probably wouldn't even know them.
Yeah.
But there's nothing I wouldn't do for them now.
Golly.
That's crazy to think about. Like,
Yeah.
how close you get just for being firefighters, living together, the family, that the brotherhood, sisterhood. But
Do you think people that may be listening? I'm trying to be positive here. You think the people that are listening that might be an accountant, you think they show up to work and they see the dude and the person at the desk next to them and say, they put their life on the line for me? No, I don't think it would ever
not.
cross their mind, right?
No.
We show up to work every day, and I know the other 3 guys that are on the fire truck with me, if something happens to me, they'll lay their life down to pull me out of that fire or entrapment or whatever.
Yeah.
Mayday scenario or whatever. I know those 3 guys would, because I feel that way about the guys I'm on the truck with. Do I want to think that I'm going to die at work? No.
Right.
Is it possible? Yeah. But would I die to save one of the other 3 guys or all 3 of them? Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know?
And not only
so
on the job.
brotherhood, it's awesome to think about that. Like, I would die peacefully knowing that I saved somebody else's life, not even another fireman.
Yeah.
Somebody in the community. That's what we're called to do, you know? So it's kind of wild and cool to think about. But go ahead, Dory.
Well, I was just going to say, not only what we do on the job, but if you called me and said, "Hey, man, I'm stuck in Dallas. I need a ride back. I've got to leave the car with Heather," I'd drive to Dallas and get you.
Yeah.
I'd
No
drive to
doubt.
Dallas
Yeah.
and get you. I'd drive there. I'd leave in the morning, pick you up, and drive back that same day if that's what we needed to do.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
well, I've got you on here this weekend. I need to go to Dallas to move my oldest son.
Is he moving
I
in with
need
his
help.
girlfriend?
No, he's moving in by himself.
Omaha.
Yeah, Omaha.
Oh,
I don't really need help,
Yeah. Omaha. I
but
can help.
we're moving him into an
Wait, we
apartment.
work Saturday.
yeah.
He's
Are you
moving
taking
closer
sick
to
leave?
his flight school. He's moving into
Oh,
that
yeah.
town where he's at.
Are you taking sick leave?
So,
Sudden leave.
I can't.
suddenly,
This is
my
being
bad.
recorded, and I really can't disclose that information.
Let's go
Stint
back
it.
real
It's
quick.
stint it. leave, I thought.
This is
Stint
it
leave.
is stint leave, and this is pre-recorded. This is actually we do actually have a 4-day off this weekend. So
What is today?
Friday,
Friday.
yeah, our
Today's-
weekend starts Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So he'll be moving his kid on Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, I thought you meant
Yeah,
tomorrow.
This is
No.
pre-recorded. pre-recorded.
No,
And
no,
I'm
no.
going to do a shameless plug
Not tomorrow.
here,
What's the date?
Would you be patient?
I need to
If
know
you're
so I can
listening-
tell you if I can
but
help
if
or
you're
not.
listening and you're available, fireman or not, Micah's going to need some help moving his kid.
Show up. Come
If
one,
you want to
come
know what
all.
it's like to be a fireman, come help.
Good Lord, we'd run so many people off. You better have thick skin. That's all I can say. Guys, firemen will show up out of the woodworks to help another fireman move or do a part-time job, and they will bitch about it the entire time they're there.
Sport bitching.
Sport bitching.
Sport bitching.
Yeah.
I think even though a lot of their calls are medical, I think I'm still always shocked to hear some of the stories.
Yeah.
Because it's like the most unbelievable things
Yeah.
happen to people that you just don't think happen.
Right.
And for some reason, you just don't hear about it. I mean, probably HIPAA, but you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But not saying any names, you know, like just hearing some of the stories that those guys have gone through, and some of it's really sad and some of it's really rewarding, I
Yeah.
bet. But yeah, and I feel like anything that would have to do with a kid would be
Oh, yeah. They pray all the time that
Right.
that will never be on their list.
Right.
And some of them, it's not.
Yeah.
So that's great. But I do remember when Jordan first started, did you hear the story he was saying about like how he went on a ride along with his brother? And
Yes.
these were like they were going to beauty school or whatever, and so they had all these mannequins in their car,
Right.
and the mannequin heads were everywhere.
Yeah.
So that was another like traumatic
Yeah.
thing to
Yeah.
look at. But
see, yeah.
just like when he told me that story and that, oh, I can help the person who's alive, I was like,
Right.
dang,
Right.
like that's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think I would want to. Just the people who are put in that position and who can do it. I have not met a firefighter who does not love his job.
Right.
It's insane.
Right. It's like that's their purpose.
Yeah.
Almost. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I agree with you. Like my cousin Kevin was a firefighter for 25 years or something. He retired, and it absolutely takes someone special to be in the medical field, especially the trauma
Yeah.
aspect of all of it, like firefighters and
Yeah.
you know, paramedics and things like that. Which to be a firefighter, you have to do you have
Yeah.
to be a paramedic too, right? Or
You have to do classes.
right.
You don't have to actually be a paramedic, but you can.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
of course it's a pay
But
bump.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I think it takes a certain person to work that job. But if you think about it, the ones that go through firefighter school or nursing or you know ER doctor, whatever, like they know what they're getting themselves into. They are preparing for it by doing this work and you know doing the study and like all that kind of stuff, and like they know they're preparing themselves.
Yeah.
And so I'm not one of those people.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
Yeah.
I'm way too sensitive. Way too sensitive. My
Yeah.
God, I wouldn't make it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't last a
I don't-
freaking day.
I don't even think I've ever even seen a bad car wreck. Like I have not seen. I'm just this little
I saw a pretty
sheltered.
bad one in high school.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like we stopped to help because it was pretty bad. Like
Ugh.
it was right on Bell Street, so right in front of Amarillo High. And it was a head-on collision, and it was all teenagers. Two of them were in like a red Jeep Cherokee, like an older one. And the passenger, the girl, I just remember she like hit the windshield, and so her head was all jacked up and
Yeah.
bloody and everything. And
Yeah.
like I just remember seeing some kids like take her over to the curb, and like we stopped and I like went over there and sat with her, and I was like, what, you know,
Yeah.
like why would I do that, first of all? But I guess when you're young, you're like, I don't know, there was like just nobody around too.
Yeah.
And so I just remember thinking like, I have to make sure she doesn't fall asleep. Like she can't fall asleep. I know that much.
Yeah.
I know she can't like close her eyes.
Yeah.
Like I have to make, you know, whatever. And then like some adults showed up, and then we left because it was, you know, you don't need to be around all that if you don't have to be. So that was pretty traumatic. I will never forget it. I'll never forget the sight. I'll never forget the way the car looked and the smell of like the gasoline and the oil and
Dang,
you know,
yeah.
all that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, scary. Yeah, I would not last.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. So
This is a bummer.
I know. I know, it really is such a sad topic. But on the other side of that, I'm so grateful for people like Jordan,
Yeah.
and Jarrett, and you know, the ones that have this passion and this is their purpose, because they're the lifesavers, like legitimate saving lives.
Yeah.
Legitimately saving lives. Like that's. Couldn't be more grateful.
And it's crazy because Jordan is one of 5 boys. And I just feel like he was born to be a brother. And it really is a brotherhood. And it's crazy that I 110% trust all the men right now on, well, wait. There's one I don't really trust. Okay, if I trust you, you're gonna know I trust you.
Yeah.